Aya. 12, verse 9. Right? 9. Yes. Atachitam samadatum nasak nosi maistiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichatum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way you will develop. In this way develop a desire to attain me. Purport. In this verse, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for a Supreme Person by transcendental love. For this second class, there is a different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is a purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified stage, they can come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really render loving service to my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me, so there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. Love of God is dormant in everyone's heart, and their love of God manifests in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of material association, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. To practice the regular principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple, offer prayers, chant Hare Krishna, then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasadam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone to rise to the level of love of God, and then he is sure to progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of a spiritual master will truly bring one to the stage of love of God. Hare Krishna. So, Atasi Krishna Namadina Bhavat Gramindriyai, Srila Rupa Goswami is saying in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that one cannot perceive Krishna with contaminated senses. Actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the spiritual body of a human being is there, it's always manifest, but we have forgotten of our spiritual identity. We are living in an identity crisis, humanity. Because if we identify with this body, with this frame, we identify with something that has no reality. The body, the Stula Sarira, is not our real self, it is a covering of our self. It is very similar to a person who sits on a computer and plays a computer game while identifying this, his personality he has accepted in the computer game. They call it even avatar nowadays, with his avatar, in complete of forgetfulness of what happens outside. You see, when people are absorbed in computer games, you can knock at their head, you can say, is there anybody there? Because they are so absorbed in this virtual reality. So the material world is a kind of virtual reality. It is not real. There's some reality to it, but it is not what we think it is. It is it's a reality which is created by Krishna, which can fold up at any moment into nothing. Just whatever we see right now, whatever we perceive, is Krishna's creation. At every moment. It's upheld by Krishna. And things can change from one moment to another. If Krishna wants, his house disappears and we are sitting here without a roof over our head. From one moment to another. It can all melt away from one moment to another. It can be devastation. It can be we lose our ground. We can waves come in. Anything can happen. It's just, huh? Hailstone can come. Anything. You see. It's we are living in this dream. It's a material dream, and here we link up with other people who are similarly dreaming. There was a famous song by Frank Sinatra, "Strangers in the night, lovers on first sight." Well, that's what it is, strangers. Everybody is a stranger to each other in the material world, and we meet and we love and we hate and we go here and there. But it is actually a very fake reality. It's a very fake existence living in the material world. We are spiritual beings, but we are right now being involved in a very heavy material experience. That's what it is, like a person who's drugged. It's a very heavy experience that we are right now. Although we are spiritual, although we are transcendental, although we have actually very little to do with the material world, we are involved in a very heavy illusion. We are drugged, so to say. And here we believe in the conglomerate of material nature, in the arrangements, which are flickering and always changing. It's a big dream. It's like entering into a matrix. We have entered this matrix. And actually we are outside. The soul is always outside. The soul is actually never without Krishna. In the spiritual world, we can relate to Krishna directly. Here we relate to Krishna indirectly. And also he's in the heart. He's in every atom. He's everywhere. And so one who is Krishna conscious, he can see this. I'm not Krishna conscious, I believe it. I have learned from Srila Prabhupada, I've learned from Bhagavad Gita, Yomam pashyati savatra savam chamai pashyati tasyam na pranashami sacham ina pranashati, that one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. I'm never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. Srila Prabhupada was like this. In his last moments, the last thing he actually said was that. He lifted his arm and said, his hand and said, everything moving and non-moving, there's nothing but Krishna. That was the last sentence. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. He saw that. He saw Krishna everywhere. He saw always Krishna in some way or another. We cannot imagine this consciousness. We cannot understand the mind of a pure devotee. If you look at Bhagavad Gita, it takes this example. When Arjuna asked about the symptoms of somebody who is transcendently situated, Krishna is explaining to him this verse. I say myself the Sanskrit, a person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he's aloof from them. There you have it. The body is a yantra rudhani maya, made by Maya, as Krishna said. And we do have actually very little control over this body, almost no control. Our control towards this body is based, basically speaking, on our desire. We desire to scratch ourselves, and so the body does it. Not by our own doing, but by the Nitya Nityananam Chaitanas Chaitananam, by the arrangement of Krishna. Because there is literally no connection between the body and the soul. We are not the driver. There are so many processes going on at every second in the body that we have absolutely no control over. Every cell is like a factory. It's an amazing, intricate arrangement, every single cell. And the cells are interacting. And all this, we are not moving the heart, we are not moving the corpus, the blood particles around, we are not doing anything. We are just sitting in there. And we are believing it is us, but it is nothing what we are not digesting, it's not under our control. There are thousands of operations going on in the liver at every moment. It's like a gigantic plant to purify our blood. And it's not under our control. Nothing. So really we cannot even lift our hand without Krishna. We are not the doer. Sometimes it's said we are not the only doer. Man proposes, God disposes. We can scratch because Krishna arranges it. He fulfills our desire. What is the connection between the body and the soul? Does anybody know what is the connection here?
Body is the vehicle given to the soul to execute the desires.
Mm-hmm. But how are we related to the body?
The false ego.
Huh?
The false ego is connected the soul with the body.
But what's lifting my hand? The false ego?
Paramatma arranges that.
Mm-hmm.
When we desire, then Paramatma arranges to the most material.
This is it. I desire. But why do I desire to lift my hand, to scratch?
Because I'm identified that I'm the body and I...
No, you don't identify, yes, but more precisely, you penetrate the body, the soul penetrates the body with consciousness. As the sun penetrates the universe, the soul penetrates the body with consciousness. So I feel an itch, and it is uncomfortable. And I want to scratch that itch. And then Krishna understands this. And he calls the devas, hello, this is Krishna. Can you please lift the hand? And all the movements are made like this at every second. This is in what speed? They are carried out with the speed of light. It's said in Vedanta Sutra, with the speed of light. Krishna, which is 16,000 miles a minute is the speed of light. So with the speed of light, our desires are carried out. With the speed of, so therefore I have come to believe that I'm acting. It's not. If it would take 5 minutes, like I feel a scratch on my everything here right now. So if it would take 5 minutes, I could understand I'm not the body. It's a machine. But because it goes so fast, therefore, it is impossible. I come to believe the illusion is so strong that Krishna is involved in everyone's life in every second. You cannot see without Krishna, or smell, hear anything, nothing. He's everywhere. In mundane religion we believe God is in the clouds, somewhere, and we are here. This is not so. This is nothing but God. It's nothing but God, really. Everything is at every second under God's control. And even the elements are held together by the will of God, and they can integrate at every moment. Like if you pull the threads out here, all the horizontal, if we were able to pull all the horizontal threads out of this cloth, I would sit naked here from one moment to another. I would have to cover myself. So in the same way, the whole fabric of the universe are like the length and the breadth of a piece of cloth, which is held together by Krishna. The whole tapestry of every moment is nothing but Krishna's arrangement. Whatever we hear is nothing but Krishna, really. The living entities are under Krishna's control. All the noises, if you close your ears and listen, whatever you hear, there's nothing but Krishna. You can go in the forest, what do you hear? Just hear for a moment, and you hear what you hear. You hear voices, you hear some pilot is flying, everything under control of Krishna. Some birds, some dog is barking. In India there's always so many dogs. Everything is Krishna, working under Krishna's control. Maradakshini prakriti, suryati, satsurachara. Everything, at every second. But we are so spaced out, we are so running, behind something, after our ideas, that we are totally oblivious to Krishna's presence at every moment. In the spiritual world, people are aware of Krishna at every second, how he is everywhere and how he's doing everything. Everything is done by him. Everything comes from him. Everything is done by him. Everything, there's a verse in Bhagavatam. He's the cause of all. There may be many lower causes, higher causes, but he's the cause of all causes. Suddenly somebody kicks me in the face. Ultimately, it is not between me and him. It is between me and Krishna, based on some karmic predicament that I've accrued in my previous life. This is going to happen, and that is going to happen. And from one moment to another, like some farmers here in the fields committed suicide yesterday. They're found hanged in trees because their harvest was 100% destroyed. Some villager told us. They hanged themselves, some 2 farmers. From one moment to another, their whole existence was destroyed. They should have come to the temple and said, this has happened to me, can I take a job as a chokidar for a season? And probably we would have made some arrangements. So there's some way, but they were so devastated by it, they just hanged themselves. And they become ghosts. It is not a solution. They become ghosts. So somehow we got caught in this material world. It is not a great situation. If anybody is proud and thinks, well, I'm very well, he's a fool. We are in trouble. You are in trouble, and I'm in trouble, and you, and everybody who has a material body, we are in trouble. That we accepted a material body, that we got kicked out of the spiritual world. And here we have to undergo repeated birth and death, and so much trouble. This trouble, that trouble. When we are young, everything works. When we get older, our body works. When we get older, gradually the body falls apart, and in the end it is not fun. It is very difficult. And then again we die, which is not fun. Nobody stands in line in the hospital, I want to die, please. Nobody. People hang on to the end. They want to die. Why? Because it is unnatural to die for the soul. It's not natural. It's unnatural. Deep in our heart we know we are spirits. We are souls. But we are so in illusion, we are so caught up in material existence that we forget our real nature, that we have forgotten who we are, we have forgotten where we come from, we have forgotten where we're going to, we don't know what to do with our life, basically speaking. People don't understand where is the goal. They don't understand that life is there, that we can realign ourselves with Krishna's will. That is the idea. In the spiritual world, everybody is aligned with Krishna's desire. That's the lifestyle of the citizen of the spiritual world, that everyone is linked in with Krishna, lined up with Krishna, everyone is in harmony with Krishna. Everyone is in love with Krishna. In the material existence, everybody pursues his own ideas. This idea, that idea. And that's why we are here. This is how we come here, because we follow our own ideas. Even Krishna consciousness, this mentality is always there. That we follow our own ideas. This idea, that idea. And you can see sometimes, although Prabhupada said so many things, still people do differently. Always changing. Prabhupada said we are always, material nature means always changing. Spiritual master says something, I will change that into something else. And in this way, the message that comes from the spiritual world is distorted beyond recognition. And you end up with sectarian religiosity. Because the message, the original Sanatana Dharma, the pure message, is distorted by the human mind, by mental speculation. That's the problem. So Atasi Krishna Namadina Bhavat Grahya Indriya, with the impure senses one cannot understand Krishna, because Krishna is pure and the senses are impure. The mind is impure. The mind is thinking about so many things which are not bona fide, which are not helpful, which are not healthy, which don't help us, which are just entangling us in material existence. That is the position. You want to chant and immediately the mind starts working. The illusion is very great in which we have fallen. And we have to make plans how to get out of here, somehow or other. And if we do so, if we actually follow Srila Prabhupada, if we actually listen to Srila Prabhupada's instructions, if we listen to the words of the Acharya, then we are progressing. It is not easy, Krishna consciousness. It's not easy to progress in Krishna consciousness. It takes time. But gradually, we are becoming more and more aware that we are actually servants of Krishna, eternal servants of Krishna, and take up the role we have in this spiritual world. In this spiritual world, people are looking always, well, how can I serve Krishna? What can I do for Krishna? Even the plants and the trees desire. Say, how can I serve Krishna? How can I serve more? In this material world, how can I satisfy myself? To the utmost, up to the end. That is material existence. There's a story Tolstoy tells, that there is no end to human greed. And you can see, due to a lack of spiritual depth and spiritual realization, this world is being devastated. The environmental crisis that we have is nothing but a spiritual crisis. That people are spiritually so impoverished, they're spiritually so poor, not pure, poor. They're spiritually so poor that they try to make up for the difference by becoming materially opulent. And there's no end to the greed. There's no end to lust. There's no end to lust to anger, to greed, there's no end to it. What people do to each other for the sake of satisfying their senses and satisfying their mind. So peace we can find only in Krishna, if we are in our original position as souls. That is the only way how we can become peaceful, by being in Krishna consciousness. But those who are perfect, they always think of Krishna. This is the first verse. It gives, practically speaking, 4 levels of spiritual existence. The first one is one who is always thinking of me. Always think of me, become my devotee. And the next one, if you cannot think of me without interruption, then you should follow the regulative principles of bhakti. So there are principles given how to purify ourselves. Instead of wasting time with things which are unimportant, we use our body, our mind, our time, some or other to satisfy Krishna, to do something for Krishna. We can chant. That time is very well spent when we chant. When we read, that time is very well spent for Krishna. When we write for Krishna, that time is very. When we cook for Krishna, when we clean for Krishna, when we perform puja for Krishna, all the processes that are there in spiritual life, it is time very well spent. Like it is stated that even when we experience calamity, if we accept calamity as Krishna's arrangement, we can make progress. Calamity is really nothing but another way of Krishna to teach us. It is not the best way to learn. The best way is not to learn by experience. If we experience calamity, it is due to some karmic predicament. Otherwise, there is no calamity. Not even the demons can suffer unless they deserve it. Everybody eats his own soup. Everybody drinks his own cup. So we learn by suffering, but it is a second-class way of learning. The better way is to learn directly, by hearing, by chanting. That is a better way of purification. If we hear, if we chant, if we perform the 8 processes of devotional service, then we can free ourselves from all suffering. So Krishna says it, that if you surrender unto me, sarva dharman prajajamamikam saranam brajaham tvam sarva papibhyo, then he frees us from the reactions of material life. But if we don't do that, then we have to suffer. So we have in the material, in our existence, only 2 possibilities. Either we turn to Krishna directly, or Krishna will beat us up with the help of the material nature. He will beat us up. He will beat us into shape. Like you see sometimes a devotee, he was in the temple and practicing Krishna consciousness, and he goes away and then he starts smoking again and drinking again. And after some time Krishna really beats him up and he gets on his knees. And he comes back and starts practicing Krishna consciousness again. And so, by the end of the day, everybody has to get on his knees, even the materialists. No matter how proud they are, it's a time of, at least when they die, they have to go on their knees and accept Krishna's predominance. So, it is like this, that either we turn to Krishna voluntarily or he will force us. Material nature is made like that. It's like if you have a potato peel machine in a restaurant, it's full of thorns, sharp edges. You throw the potatoes, it turns around, and gradually the potatoes are peeled. So in the same way, the whole material world is like that. It's like a potato peel machine. We're thrown in here, and sooner or later we got to come to our senses. Otherwise, it hurts. No matter what we do, it will hurt. Krishna forces us to come back to him. It is far better to escape the potato peel machine by voluntarily accepting the process of devotional service. Far more intelligent than that type of suffering. And most people suffer and they don't learn. and suffer again and still they don't learn. I mean, it's unimaginable to me how before I came to Krishna consciousness, I could clearly understand that religion and meat eating is not compatible. I could understand this. It's not rocket science. You can understand. You talk about love. You talk about love others. You have to also love nature. You also have to love. What kind of person is this who is kind to his children and cruel to others? What kind of person? The demons. Hitler was very kind to his dogs. He had some dogs. And he was petting children when he saw them. But otherwise this man was most cruel. Unbelievable. I don't want to go into the details. But he was an extremely cruel person. Unbelievable cruel. These are demons who are cruel. The devotees are different. They are not cruel. They understand the suffering of others. They understand their own suffering. And they try to help people on the path of Krishna consciousness. And as it's stated here, if we can fix our mind on Krishna, well, that's wonderful, but most people cannot. And so therefore this process is given that we can learn by performing the rules and regulation of Krishna consciousness. It's just like when somebody is sick, the doctor gives them some rules. Don't do this, don't eat that, this you should eat, and get up early in the morning and make some exercise with your leg. Like I have to do some exercise, I have a problem in my leg. Doctor told me you have to do this so many times a day, I don't. Too bad, because it takes longer. So Krishna is giving us a set of rules, what we should avoid. The yam and the niyam. In yoga also, do this and don't do that. And then gradually, Krishna is pleased with us, and we lose our attachment to material existence by the process of hearing, chanting, remembering, and preaching. That is the process. And so gradually from Ador Shraddha, in the beginning there's a little faith, like Srila Rupa Goswami said, then to Sadhu Sangha, association with devotees, then bhajana kriya, hearing, chanting, remembering, all these activities, then anatta nivritti syat. Impurities in the heart become destroyed by the process of devotional service. It's a slow process. Prabhupada said it's not a fast process, it's a slow process. But then gradually the impurities become destroyed by this process, and Krishna is taking us more and more. He's revealing himself gradually. And I develop here a taste for Krishna due to the possibility he's giving me, due to the purification. No one is to understand Krishna by his impure mind. Nobody. Theologians since time immemorial have been trying to understand God and come out with different formulas, which are useless. They're just theories about God. They have nothing to do with Krishna. So I thank you very much for kindly listening to my little lecture. I will leave tomorrow. This is the end, my friend, for this time, I hope. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your wonderful association this time. My question
I don't
is,
know what's wonderful about it.
it was very enlightening for me at least. I
Hare
can say.
Krishna.
You mentioned about not to deviate from Srila Prabhupada's instructions. But it is so deep-rooted, in spite of reading, it just doesn't make sense. We have got so habituated for ramifying the instructions. whatever our mind tells us to ramify to any extent, when the formula is so simple, but we want to make it more complicated. So how to get rid of this habit?
That's why we have to associate with strong devotees who are on track. Who are not bewildered by material circumstances, who have heard enough Prabhupada. If you read enough of Srila Prabhupada, you understand Prabhupada's desire. I find when people deviate, it's because they have not read Prabhupada's books. They have not heard enough Prabhupada. If you have heard Prabhupada, you can understand what he wanted. He told us, for example, to stay inside of ISKCON. He didn't want us to go outside and take information from outside, except when it comes to technology or something practical. But for spiritual knowledge, we should not go outside, but people do. Prabhupada said one thing, people do another thing. Prabhupada gave us a certain set of how we should behave. What should be the position of men? What should be the position of women? How to raise children. He gave thousands of instructions, thousands of lectures, and still people concoct all kinds of things which have nothing to do with our culture. And Prabhupada came he said, I come to the West to cause a cultural conquest, to bring Vedic culture to the West. But so many devotees are thinking we should accept Western standards, Western this, Western this.
Can you speak in the mic?
Yes, why not? Gladly. Like Prabhupada, if you take, for example, this only one idea. Srila Prabhupada, when you hear him chanting Hare Krishna mantra, he never thinks Hare Krishna or Hare Ramo. You don't hear that. In fact, he became angry when Vishnu Jan came from Bengal and he started singing Ramo. Prabhupada said, who's Ramo? He said, you're destroying the Hare Krishna movement. That's what Prabhupada told him. He was so happy. So how do we know how to please Krishna without singing? How do we know this? We don't know. Krishna has a taste, he's a person. And so we should sing Hare Rama. We never see Prabhupada when he sang, that he sings like Anu Jalopa, or what is his name? Anu Jalota. We never hear him going off, Hare Krishna, you never. Where's this idea coming from? How dare we to stand in front of Krishna and do whatever we like? Krishna has taste. We have to hear from people who are on that platform, how they sing. Prabhupada, I know Prabhupada had no problem if you have different melodies, but the mood shouldn't change. The mood shouldn't be different. The mood is Sankirtan, that we sing in a way, the person who leads the kirtan should sing in a way that other people can follow that. This is easy to follow. Nothing too complicated, something bizarre, So we have to just, understand, that Prabhupada had a particular kind of way of expressing himself, and we should try to find out how to do that. Similarly. And there's always space for individuals. We are individuals, we are not, like robots. It's natural that somebody has more taste for hearing, another one more taste for chanting, another one is very much involved in organizing. We are different people. There's nothing wrong with that. But it shouldn't be different from what we have seen Prabhupada doing. It should be, that we can imagine that Prabhupada comes into the room, that he will be pleased. And Prabhupada never had a problem with personal expression. He liked it. Some people are artistic, some people this, and they make nice arrangements, but he didn't like something which was against the grain of spiritual life. Like, for example, when he came to Germany, he saw that one painter, devotee named Vasudeva, and he had painted the outside of cars with pictures of Krishna. And Prabhupada said, why you do this? There's rain coming and dirt from the road, and this is not respectful.
And hailstones.
Huh?
And hailstones.
Hailstorm. He says, it's not respectful. Why are you exposing Krishna to the elements like this? He said, I don't like it. Don't paint your cars like this. This is hippie philosophy. He didn't like it. It was beautifully done. Vasudeva did it. On one side there was a whole Mahavishnu, universes floating out of the body. On the whole side, he picked up Prabhupada in the airport. He immediately said, why are you doing this? This is a nice picture, but it shouldn't be there. It should be in the temple. So he had feelings, he can feel this is Krishna. Why are you exposing Krishna? One time we wanted to give up a temple, and Prabhupada was so angry with us. He yelled at us like anything. Even if your child has been born deaf and blind, doesn't mean you kill it, and he screamed. And then he said, and by the way, it's not your house, it's Krishna's house. So he understands Krishna, he's close to Krishna. So who are we to impose whatever we like to sing on Krishna? Why should we introduce things that are so strange to what Prabhupada gave us, so far away from it? But this is going on. At any moment, I'm in ISKCON 43 years. At every moment somebody is going crazy. At every moment. There's somebody going mad with something. Isn't that true? At any moment there's somebody flying off the handle and doing something really crazy. And
That's because I have to put my own signature on everything.
Yeah. Your own signature. Today I heard K.C. Damana, he said that Advaita Acharya said to the Lord, please save even the fallen, most fallen, but you don't have to save those people who are arrogant and puffed up. You don't have to. And so our whole idea is that we should be Trinada, Pisane, Trinato, should be humble devotees and see how we can do something for Krishna, something nice. That would be a pleasure to Krishna, not ramming our own way, going with the head through the wall. And then if there's no false ego, our movement is very easy and very, very comfortable. It's very comfortable to live in the Hare Krishna movement if there are no egos. If there's so much ego, then it is very comfortable to live in the Hare Krishna movement. It becomes extremely uncomfortable when you see big egos. It becomes very uncomfortable. There are so many disruptions we experience in our movement due to ego. Egos, this ego, that ego. And Prabhupada, when he came to Germany, we had a beautiful place, and he said you should buy it immediately. So I arranged that we could buy it, but the person in charge said, we're not going to do that. I said, why not? I said, but Prabhupada told us today we should buy it immediately. The man in charge said, sometimes Srila Prabhupada doesn't understand. 4 weeks later, the police came in and confiscated every single penny we had. We had 750,000 in the bank. You could have bought it in a second. No, but Prabhupada doesn't understand. And we are suffering still. Even after 30 years, we are suffering because of it. Prabhupada doesn't understand. It's crazy. Prabhupada understands very well, what he says is coming from Krishna. Sometimes Prabhupada was sitting together with the big men in our movement, and he would ask everybody, what is your opinion, what should we do? What is your idea? Somebody said, maybe we should do this. Prabhupada said, not a good idea. What do you think? Also not a good idea. What do you say? Also, so I went through everybody, and then somebody said, "But Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, what is your idea?" He said, "I don't have an idea. I don't know what we should do. Let's wait what Krishna says." And then after half an hour, they said, "Let's change the subject." They would talk about something else. After half an hour, Prabhupada said, "Now I know what to do. We should do this." And everybody said, "Srila Prabhupada is such an excellent idea. How did you get this?" He said, "Krishna just told me. Krishna just told me." So Prabhupada, he was in touch with Krishna. He would wait for Krishna and hear what Krishna wanted him to do and how to do things. If he didn't know, he would just wait for Krishna. But in the West, people are so arrogant, so puffed up, so full of themselves, particularly in Western countries. And one cannot chant the holy name seriously if one is arrogant and puffed up. Chinala pisari, chinatorola pisari. That's the grease. You know. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. I thank you so much. God bless you all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
God bless you, Mr. Prithu. Thank you so much.
I'm well, but I think I can body. A lady devotee who joined in Germany in 1980 shared two sons, one man